Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Watch It Wednesdays. Today's episode will be a bit different from our usual format. Instead of interviewing a past student, in today's episode, we will be listening to a part of our recently held work experience empowerment seminar. We will have our keynote speaker, Miss Daniella Atchison, presenting us with important pointers and tips on how to become employable during and after COVID. Sit back, enjoy, and ensure to have your notebooks prepared because very important nuggets were dispensed at this forum. Mr. Akeem, our head boy, the floor is yours.
The Executive Director of the National Conservation Trust Fund of Jamaica. She has a wealth of experience in coastal management, watershed management, and climate change. Her first degree is in geomatics engineering, and she holds a Master of Science in Sustainability, GIS, and Remote Sensing from the University of South UK. She is also a member of the Jamaican Institution of Engineers, a board representative of the Jamaica Institute of Environmental Professionals, also an entrepreneur. She is from rural Hanover, which explains her love for nature and environmental protection. She enjoys hiking and all water-related activities. Please put your hands together as we welcome Miss
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me, and thank you for that introduction. When I don't consider myself a good public speaker, I rarely do this, and I always shy away from doing this. But when Mrs. Russell asked me, I said, you know what? I should probably do this because I know a lot of know-how, and a lot of persons have asked me in the past to share, and I would do it on a personal level. But if I can make a greater impact, then I wouldn't turn down the opportunity to. So your theme is excellence is attainable, level up. If the internet gets a bit shaky, I think I will just turn video off, but just let me know. And so your theme is excellence is attainable, level up. And my presentation will basically be complementing your previous speaker, because she did touch on a lot of the highlights and areas and components that I would be speaking to, but more on the practicality part. I didn't prepare a presentation. I was putting one together, and I said, you know what, I should let this be less of a speech and more of a know-how. And I said, what would I want somebody to tell me if I were your age at this point? And I basically would just be sharing that with you today. So we look at identifying what you want, whether it be further in your education, going into the work of world. You must first identify what you want. That's your next step. And then you're going to be developing strategies to achieving your goals or what you want, which includes making yourself more marketable, looking at how you can make yourself employable, and then looking at how you can access resources and opportunities. So to begin your journey to excellence, you must ask yourself some general questions. You don't have to have it all figured out, but by asking yourself the basic questions, you will be able to identify what you actually need to do. So you must first ask yourself, what is my next step after graduating high school? That's a question that you should be asking yourself at this point. Another question is, what do I have interest in? Or what am I good at? Or what do I love to do? Sometimes it's very hard to identify what you're good at, as you might think that you might not have a talent, but or a gift, which some people would attribute to just like singing, dancing, etc. But creativity is can be your talent or your gift. You are a very persuasive person. That's also a gift. I would consider a gift. If you find yourself always trying to figure things out, finding a solution, trying to maneuver difficult situations or challenges, you might be an entrepreneur. So, you have to ask some basic questions. And then when you determine these things, then the question is, what next? And my recommendation, have dreams and goals and then write them down. Do not just wing it. A lot of people do wing it, even in adulthood, and they are doing okay. But imagine if they actually had a structured plan or actions, a set of actions, how much greater they would be, right? And I figured this out at a young age, probably in university, and I've always been a planner ever since. So once you have this written down, you will then want to create a plan of how you will get there and where you want to be. So that is a critical step: action and planning and then action. Plan doesn't mean that you need a big document or you need to have a couple pages of things that you're gonna what you call it now, like a document per se with paragraphs. It can be as simple as to-do list. This is a plug of leveling up. As DJ Khaled would say, major key. You need to have a to-do list. Even today, I have a to-do list because they are simple steps towards completing your day, to completing a task. You have to have the know-hows and the list of what next you need to do. So if you're planning something for you want to have a successful day, or even coming to this this presentation, you realize we have an agenda. It is a simple list of things of how we're going to go through the day, structured so that we get everything completed. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. This is so true. And I want you guys to also know that your current circumstances should not make you want less or deter you from having achievable goals. If you know what you want and you identify what you want, and you then go do further research to know how you're going to achieve this goal or get to this destination. If you want to be an accountant, you need to do certain subjects. So that is like a first step. Like it is just writing down what you need to do for you to actually put things in place to get where you want, right? So just don't be mediocre, say, because I don't have the money, or there's so many opportunities out there that people aren't aware of, and hopefully I can shed some light today. Hearing me? Am I still here?
Yes.
Everybody? Okay, great.
Yes.
So the what next may be to pursue further education. Sometimes this is not possible immediately after high school due to financial problems, but it should be on your to-do list. This does not necessarily mean that you have to go to a UE or a UTech or a community college. If you realize that you have a strength and you can further develop it, maybe it be a skill. You can pursue a short course online. You can go to Heart. You can get certified. A lot of people think that, if you have you need to have like you need a formal education, even if it means to be certified. Not necessarily 3 or 4 years of of college degrees based on what you are interested in, but at least get certified, because it also increases your ability to earn more. So if you are a certified makeup artist, you have uh, you have a greater earning power than somebody who is not certified, because you might attract a certain type of clientele who may be fussy and be, oh, did you get certified? Or you can just put it up as a plaque so somebody know that, listen, I am certified. I'm not just doing this because I love it or I'm good at it. But sometimes that is a little, it gives you a little more earning power than somebody who doesn't have this certification. Not that you would be less uh, creative or not as good, but sometimes it's these little things that you put in place that increase your earning power over somebody else. um and sometimes persons who have a skill, and also a 9 to 5, they can have a skill and a 9 to 5. Sometimes their skill makes more money than their 9 to 5. And it's since I became an adult, I said, boy, I wish I always had a skill. In high school, I went to Montego Bay High School, and I did clothing and textile, and I did food and nutrition. But even over the course of the pandemic, I said to myself, I wish I had pursued or did further level of study with something like this to make it a skill, because I've seen where a lot of people become more flexible, have more spending power. They have a 9 to 5 lawyers, and they do makeup on weekend. When it's graduation, they do makeup. It's not like they do it all year round. It makes them flexible. And this can generate a lot of money. I know a lot of people who are now making wigs. Like, they first started off from YouTube. Like, you're young, you have these platforms, you're able to maneuver and use them, not just use them to watch gossip and people business. They can be very lucrative. They can be a way in which you can actually earn a living. You have a lot of people specializing in wig making. You have people doing soap making. A disclaimer, I am a soaper, and I have developed this new skill during the COVID-19 pandemic. I make natural soap. Like, you look at trends, a lot of people are going to natural skincare. Like, I have a 9 to 5, but I also say, if I can do more, if I can earn more, if there is more ways I can go on a vacation without touching the funds that I get from a 9 to 5, then I am going to, right? And it doesn't require me to do it 24/7. It is on a flexible basis and when I want to. So it's very important to also use your platforms and your interactions with your peers to notice trends and to see where there's a niche or things that you can make better. So when I say education, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to a UE or a UTech. I mean, that's something that if you can afford, or if that's what you want to do, then you can do it. But sometimes we have to take small steps before we actually get there. Looking at getting a job, you can apply for available opportunities. A lot of opportunities became available that include home-based jobs due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic and change the way in which people do business. Everything has shifted almost virtually, and a lot of people are playing catch up. So your teachers or people that have been in the work world a very long time, they have to learn how to use technology. They're playing catch up with technology, while millennials like yourselves would have an advantage with apps, with social media platforms and technology. Use your devices and technology to your advantage. Not, as I said, not just watch rumors. Like, there's so many new jobs that have emerged and niche due to the pandemic, and it doesn't necessarily have to be traditional. COVID-19 has shifted the way in which people do business, which have resulted in many niche. Identify what people are struggling with, or yourself, what people need. Sometimes it's come to your own needs, as I mentioned, and what is not available. Looking at what is already in place but is not satisfying people, and how you can even make it better. Mrs. Russell mentioned that I'm also an entrepreneur, and sometimes when you attempt something and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try again. On the onset of the pandemic, I started a business, and it has really been how I would say downfall for that business. But coming out of the pandemic, I also realized that there was a trend in people wanting a healthy lifestyle, and I had some medical issues a couple years ago, and I had changed my diet and how I live. And guess what? I turned this into a business because the pandemic called for people being more healthy, people looking at mental health, looking at their physical well-being, building their immunity. And, for me, this presented an opportunity out of my own issues and challenges, and presented a new business for me. And it literally took only $500 to start that business, 500 Jamaican to start that business, which the one I had before was excessive over 3 million, right? So sometimes things happen and you just can't be dismayed, but you just have to try and just keep your eyes open. So some emerging careers coming out of this pandemic, looking at social media management, a lot of businesses have now moved online. They need content managers. Some of you are so good at finding these things, these memes, and creating these memes and such. I mean, it is potentially earning a source of income for you guys. A lot of people are advertising for content manager, social media content manager, how to use Instagram, TikTok, all these things. I used to think TikTok was just a dance app. There are so many things that I've learned about business management on TikTok. Just don't click the part about comedy. And then we have content creators. You see a lot of people now putting up that they're content creators. If you love the video, have an eye for certain we call it images, pictures, etc. You're creative, like this is your time to become marketable. A lot of people have now looked into website development because businesses are moving on, like graphic developers. People are now doing small businesses and they need labels. So if you're good with certain apps or using your computer, your laptop, as I say, these devices can be major income generators for you. Looking at bearer services for delivery, people start doing a lot of food delivery, small businesses doing delivery. So we see a lot of bearer services happening now in Jamaica. People looking at traditional, a lot of you are from like rural Jamaica, a lot of people, and there's a big market for herbal and traditional plant medicines, health and wellness coaches, self-care, people doing these things from home. If you have an interest in how the body works or in health, there are short courses that you can take online that makes you that can qualify and certify you as a health coach, and you can offer these services to people. And then now we identify these things, we have to look at developing strategies. So the previous speaker spoke about strategies, and this is important because whether you want to pursue education or going into the work world, you need a strategy to make yourself marketable, to make yourself who employers want or who schools would want. So first thing, I'm going to look at scholarships, because this is one strategy in which you can further your education. To get access, either you need to have good grades. I would say maintain at least a 2.5 and above GPA. You don't necessarily have to be the smartest person to get a scholarship. Identify scholarships whose criteria you meet so you don't waste your time just apply for things. From personal experience, I think I used to wing it, just minimum requirement until I reached university. It was not intentional, and I was called by the university for I didn't apply for it for academic scholarship based on my grades. And I said, and they actually gave me tangible cash. And from that day, I said, they are going to pay me to learn. I've never paid for school after that day. When I realized that there's so many opportunities and how you can meet this criteria and how you can align yourself, I've completed the rest of university without student loans, and did a master's fully funded in the UK without paying a red cent out of my pocket, right? So some of the strategies I would say maintain for a scholarship, you have to maintain at least a 2.5 GPA. A lot of people think you have to have a 4.0 or over 3.5. That's not true. For example, my sister wanted to go into medicine, and I wouldn't say she's as a strong candidate as I am in academics, but she is very hands-on, which I don't think I am. And when I noticed that, you know what, I started to help her to strategize in putting herself in a position where she could get a scholarship that looks at your contribution to community and to society. So she wanted to do medicine. You know what I told her to do? Every summer, you go to the hospital in the parish and you offer your service. She have that to put as community work. So she building her resume towards what she wants. So when she goes to a scholarship committee now, they say, oh, sure, she's been doing this community work. She already in the hospital. She aligning herself with the hospital. So you have to be strategic, especially if you are not in a very favorable position. You have to develop strategies to make yourself marketable. All right. And if you need need-based, you apply for need-based scholarship, and you look at the scholarships and the organizations that care about giving back to the community. And that is how, that's why I tell you, community service is very important. It's not just because schools say you must do community service. Sometimes you have to strategically put yourself in a position to align with what you want. All right. So if you're not an A student, you can still get a full scholarship. And this is possible with acceptable grades, as I say, 2.5 GPA. If you can get it for 3, that would be great. And community service. So even during the pandemic, let me ask you a question. In this entire pandemic, what did you do to assist your community? These are things when you're doing applications, you put there. So I saw this for my sister. We're from rural Hanover. And when the government was giving out the care grants, I tell her, since you have internet and a lot of people in the community don't have internet, you are going to take it upon yourself to help community members apply for these grants that the government was giving about. That is a strategy of how you can help the community. So the whole pandemic, people have nothing to write on their resume about what they were doing. No volunteerism, nothing. So you do not make yourself stand out or marketable to neither scholarships nor jobs, especially if some jobs are, you know, very aligned with service, right? And I always tell people, ask for help. When writing scholarship essays, follow instructions and ask for help, right? And you need recommendations. Another way to strategically position yourself, you know you're going to need a guidance counselor or a teacher to be a recommendation. You need for sure interest. Like you need to maintain, even if you have a favorite teacher, maintain a relationship with them, because you're going to need them to recommend you, whether for a job, as a referral, or these are strategies that you can use to make yourself more marketable and employable. So you don't have to be, your teacher said, where this child come from? I don't even remember what this child name, because you never show no interest in a school. You know, how are you going to ask these people to make recommendations for you? Even getting a student loan, it requires a guarantor. and it needs a person who's employed. So you have to develop good relationships with family member or family friend and demonstrate your efforts, why somebody should help you. You will only get help and assistance if you show up for yourself and do your part. Nobody is going to help anybody who is not also doing the work. What I used to do growing up, when I wanted something, I would at least like save a portion of it or do all the work of how it's going to get done and then present it to who I think may be able to help me. And people see your interest and see that you're putting in effort, and so they will be more willing to help you than you don't have any plan. You don't have any good relationship with anybody. You're not doing anything for yourself. You're not positioning yourself. So, when we talk about strategies, is these little things that you need to have in place. Now, switching into being marketable and employable. Outside of if you're just going to, as I said, it's the information before is important, because you should have pursuing further education on your to-do list, right? So if we're going to look at jobs now, right, I want to look at jobs and how you can make yourself even more marketable and employable. First, you need to note that you may not get a job you like when you first enter the work world, but staying employed is a means of getting better opportunities. If you are home, no one gets to meet you, no one gets a chance to hear what you can actually do. When you're in the workplace, sometimes you have to market yourself, let people know what you are capable of, what you can actually do. You will be unable to build new skill sets, and you will miss out on opportunities. When I just left college, university, I must say, as an engineer, my first job was in administration, right? And I took the opportunity, although it was not earning me a lot of money, I took the opportunity to let the people around me know what else I can do. And when you're inside of a job, sometimes there's opportunities that come up for you that is shared or circulated among you before it goes externally. So you have a chance. And then when you are employed, you gain new skill sets, and you don't have this big gap in your resume, right? When you are actually applying for a job, somebody says, so what you're doing from 2020 to 2022, you have nothing there. So even if you don't have a job that is generating the salary that you want, sometimes we see that you have to volunteer if possible. Even before completing school, try to give like a day or a two, sometimes holidays, to just get your foot in the door, right? Sometimes you have to hand deliver resumes to the HR where possible, and you need to dress the role. First impression matters, right? So you need to seem interested. You can't sometimes you just email a resume. Sometimes you have to call and follow up. You need to seem interested. You need to say, oh, I would like to give a couple hours, if you can afford the fare to like go to some of these places, to just volunteer if possible, just to try to get your foot in. So if something becomes available, you can be considered. As I just said, engineering, administrative, it don't seem relatable, but all jobs help to develop new skill sets, which makes you more marketable, right? Always include in your resume all the jobs you did, as it can also assist employers in identifying your characteristics. You see some persons do certain things as an employer, and as they had mentioned, I'm a executive director, so I would be looking at people's resume and employing them. And sometimes the jobs don't seem related, but it identifies person. You look and you say, this person must have patience to deal with children, although they're not applying for a job that necessarily requires them to deal with children. But you look at certain things when you're an employer and characteristics in people. So you may think these skill sets don't align or are not interrelated, but they are. So I would also say acquire a skill or undertake short courses that are available online while you are unemployed. So there isn't a huge time gap in, say, when you left school and when you actually get formal employment. Another thing, when you are employed, do your best. Go beyond expectations to demonstrate that you are an asset to this organization or this company. Another way that I used to position myself, or a strategy that I use to make myself marketable, is I attend free conferences and webinars to network. So I let people know of you. If you stay at home, no one knows of you. Sometimes you have to be, as Jamaican, that's enough, especially if you don't know people and your family don't know people and you don't come from families that are well known. You have to make yourself known. So I am not from a family that is, say, a Matalan or a Azan, but in Jamaica is really who know who, right? So sometimes you have to put yourself in the right position to be identified. Like, you go into conferences after a while and you stand up and you answer questions and you ask questions. People, who is this person? And you interact, and that's how you even get more invitation to places, and people ask you to speak, and people are interested in who you are, what you can do, and it makes you more marketable. So these are like strategies that when I wasn't employed, I used to go in the Sunday Glean. I used to look for conferences that are affiliated with my line of work or what I studied, and I would show up at all these conferences. Like, you're gonna know me some way, somehow. You're going to know me, and you're going to want to employ me, right? So these are just strategies. So the next component I would like to talk about is accessing. How you can actually access resources and opportunities. For schools, when you're in school as a student, you have more exposure to opportunities. Sometimes you're not looking, but if you're in a school system, you need to ask questions, you need to contact guidance counselor, you need to see what is available for you, right? For example, when I was studying in university, right? Well, my first degree, I did very well in one particular subject, and there was an opportunity for 5 students to go to France to participate in a 1-month program. And I was selected, all expenses paid. I was in France, and I got $10,000 as a stipend just to be there, right? And this was in university, second year, right? So and I think it is through school that I got my first visa to travel and to do these things. So sometimes there are opportunities that are available in schools and universities, and you just need to ask, and you need to ensure that you are doing your best or building relationships, as I said, with teachers, because I found myself in situations where I may have just barely missed the passing mark, but because of my constant interest and showing up for classes, my teacher would say, you know what, this person deserves at least the 1 mark, and pass you. So sometimes you have to be strategic in how you do things. So in schools, you should also look at scholarships. Annually, the banks give scholarship. If you're in the Hanover area, Hanover Charities give scholarship. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk, I can give your advisor or Mrs. Russell a database maybe after. There are specific scholarships for specific parishes. You can also not just be looking in Jamaica. There's so many opportunities and so much more cheaper in other countries like Brazil. I have a friend doing medicine in Brazil. China, Europe. My sister is currently studying medicine in Europe, and her school fee is like $5,000 compared to University of the West Indies that you're doing medicine for $28,000. So sometimes it just requires a little bit of research, right? That makes things attainable. Exchanges, right? There are exchanges in schools, in university. When I was in university, we had some US students. I studied in Trinidad from Mona that got $5,000 for 3 months just to come and study the same thing at university in Trinidad, right? So there are opportunities. If you're going into like a community college or a tertiary institution, it doesn't necessarily have to be UE or UTech. It can just be a community college. Once you have a tertiary ID, you can also apply to go and work and travel program, right? Because they consider community college, like Mobile Community College, a tertiary institution, and you're eligible to actually apply for work and travel for the summers, right? I did that once, and I wish I knew about it earlier. I did it in my last year of university. If you need to like ask family members or so, go around and chum up little change to do this, and you can commit to paying them back or repaying them when you come back. That's something that you can do. I did that, right? You can look at the National Youth Service. If you come out of school, you don't really have anything to do, they pay a stipend. As I said, it's better being in a place employed or volunteering so that people know about you and you can market yourself than just being at home. The Tourism Enhancement Fund have a summer program. The Jamaica Tourist Board Hospitality Program, they do an online certification thing. Last year they did it. NCB was also giving away some online scholarships for persons to do like development or website training, looking into ITC services, right? This was all online, and I think you guys should look out for this. Between the months of March to June, there's always some opportunities that are available. Sometimes when you come out of school, you can look at the Hope program. That's a new program that the Prime Minister had launched, I think, 2 years ago. And at my organization, we employed, I think, 2 persons prior in administrative work. So it's not necessarily a skill-based thing. Sometimes you can do administrative things, etc. These are just like, starting points. And as I said, you can do online short courses based on interest. So I'm interested in natural skincare products. I am a soaper. I started out on YouTube, but then I said, you know what, let me get certified. And I did a short course online for like 3 months, got a certification in it. Anybody questions me, I am certified. Here is my certificate as a soaper, right? If you're preparing food, sometimes if it's small or whatever, you still need a food handler's permit. It's just $500. Do it. Have a certificate. Anybody question you, here is my food handler's permit, because you have some people that are fussy. You have clientele that are like asking you, do you have this? Do you have that? So it's just little things that make you have greater earning power over somebody else and make you, gear to a higher earning market and power. Looking at the world of work, you have work opportunities on LinkedIn. You should, coming out of school, I don't know if your advisor referred you, but you guys should create a LinkedIn account, right? And as I said, there are many opportunities for earning on social media platforms. Follow interesting businesses on social media. Startup support. You have a lot of startup support. If you think you want to be an entrepreneur, there's a lot of startup support for small businesses, right? The Jamaica National, this is not talking about no big loan, but there are technical support tools to tell you how to register a business, how to have a plan, that kind of thing. You have Jamaica National, Sagicor, JMB, they have sources online that you can actually tap into to know the know-how. All have support to assist you in startup businesses in case you want support in establishing your own. You have startup loans. You have a few places that give you loans that don't require a guarantor and doesn't have big interest rates. You have a company called Dollar Finances that provide loans for small startup businesses such as like fishermen. If you have a shop, that kind of thing. So there are things. You have an app now called Fiverr. I don't know if you have ever heard of it. You can provide your services
Yes,
virtually
yes.
and globally, um to get this done, right? I outsource a lot of help from Fiverr. I got my website created for my business from somebody on Fiverr. It like literally you type in what you're looking for, content creator. Oh, I can do in a business, you cannot do everything yourself. You outsource this content creator, you pay them a small fee and they create all your social media ads for the month, because that's not something I have time to do, right? So you have people that are looking for somebody to support them, and a lot of small businesses have emerged from the pandemic. So there's a lot of opportunities for you coming out of school and outside of a 9 to 5 that you can earn additionally. You have the Jamaica Business Development Corporation that also provide free guidance if you are interested in being an entrepreneur, like the know-hows. So there are opportunities out there. And in closing, I want to leave with you some recommendations. Think opportunities, not limits. Be innovative. Try to always see how you can even make someone else's idea better. Don't think because somebody else is doing it, you can't do it, or you can't do it better. Like if Juicy Beef thought that Tasty was the only one that is to have patty, then would I never have patty. If mothers would never have Tasty patty and they have their clientele. If mothers thought that, oh, 2 people already doing patties, why we need to go into patties? You know what mothers do? They're the only patty shop that have like what you call it, a fish patty, and Juicy Beef is the only patty shop that have a soy patty. So they cater for, they realize the niche. In everything, there is a niche, and you just have to sit and look at it and see how you can make it better. Be strategic. Put yourself in a position to level up. Go in places, as I mentioned, go to conferences, like show up at places, interact with people, volunteer at certain jobs. If you see this may be your only way in for them to know you. Doing certain short courses to become certified. I would recommend those. Then you need to surround yourself with the right people. The previous speaker spoke about that. It doesn't mean that you need to throw away your friends, but sometimes you need to be in the right company to hear how to. And then you need to ask questions. In starting a small business, I had a lot of questions, and it's because of you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Other persons that would purchase from me, and I realized that they have a business, and I said, how do you get paid online? How do you do this? And they answered, where do you source this at a cheaper rate? Oh, I got my jars at this place for this. You ask questions. Most people can do is not answer or just say no, but ask questions. And lastly, excellence is trained and is achieved through repeated actions that becomes habit. Having the plan and taking small actions is your tool to leveling up. That is what defines successful people. So that's it from me, and I'm available for questions, and I hope I can answer some of your questions.
Thank you so much, Miss Atchison.
So there you have it. I am certain that you were able to grasp something of importance from this session. I wish you well. Until next time, bye.